Welcome back to the Ascension Series. I'm Dime. I'm the founder of Dimino Mentoring. Today, we're going to break down a couple of different things. I'm going to do a little story time and share with you how I thought I was fucking up my manifestations, but actually how it turned out to be accurate. So, we're going to talk a little bit about alignment and manifesting. And we're going to dive into who knows what comes out of my mouth when I do these things. It's like I turn on the computer and away we go. But I know I really want to offer you some of the hindsight wisdom today that really has propelled me into living fully submerged in my highest timeline. So first, let's do a little tidy up. I know that I usually do these videos on Tuesday, and then I do a live on Facebook and YouTube on Thursdays. We are in preparation to shut down for Christmas. So I think it's really important for work-life balance. It's something that I'm not that great at, but I'm learning, but for the team especially. So we're going to be gone MIA from December 18th all the way to January 2nd. We'll be back in the office January 2nd and back to regular schedule then. So I know I've gotten a few emails about like, where's the video for the week? And I'm doing my best right now. I've got a lot of things on the go. I'm heading out for a retreat next week. So I leave on Tuesday for a retreat and then for holiday with my partner. And then Christmas and then all of that stuff, right? And also editing the books. So my first week leading into January will be editing books and working on all that stuff that's coming up for 2024. So this will be the last one of 2023, the last Ascension series. So let's dive in. And as always, the questions that you put on these videos are the answers I love to bring forward. So let me know what your questions are. There's no topic except for politics. I'm not going to go there, but we could talk about anything else that you want. So hit me up with your questions and I will be sure to circle back and find all of those. Let's dive into the journey of arriving in your highest timeline and how I thought I was really fucking it up and what I've learned from that. And then we're just going to see whatever else comes out of my mouth because who knows? All right. So, it is in hindsight that we have clarity, unfortunately. It sucks. But when you understand the power of 369, you understand that the past and the present are just energies moving through you and that they don't exist except for your perception of them. So I teach all of that in the Fully Awaken and Ascend course that's pre-recorded on the website. Level 4 of that is called expansion, where I'm going to go into way more detail about really solidifying your exterior reality through the Power 369. I'm going to go a little off kilter too. We're going to talk about Anunnaki and what's happening with us right now in the evolutionary process with the Anunnaki. And I'm going to talk about some starseed stuff in that program as well. But then we're diving really into what to do in order to arrive. So let's dive into my journey so far. So we're going to do story time. The biggest thing is that where I was really messing myself up was trying. Like, honestly, it was the trying. I'm a born generational psychic, so I have those gifts, right? They've always been there. They did shut down for a little bit of time in my teens when I was being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Just the absolute fear of the devil and ghosts and all that shit. And that was my reality. Like I could talk to ghosts, I could talk to spirit, I could talk to galactic energy. And the fear really shut it down. And so I went through this really quiet timeline from about 15 to about 17. So just a couple of years. And then it just exploded back open, but I tried to hide it. So having that gift still did not add into the ease of me leveling up into this life right now. It was just something I was born with. And I'm really good at letting my ego go all the way into worst case scenario and into anxiousness and into in a heartbeat. So that was something I had to master first before I could really stay in the gift and then allow the unfolding of my path to come. So first defining moment for me, I was 12. There's a few. When I was 12 years old, two big things happened. And 12 is a 3, right? 1 plus 2 is 3. The power in the Power 369, 3 is rewriting what was in order to allow that to move through you to enhance the new story moving back through you through the infinity symbol. So 3 is this loop, 6 is right here, 9 is this loop. So whatever we perceive what was will flow through our right here, right now, the 6. And then that energy continues to flow and gather more of it and bring it back into here and now, into the six. So when we see threes, it's all about what was, the perception of what was. When we see sixes, it's about right here, right now. And when we see nines, whether that's 18, 8 plus 1 is 9, the math, like a 9, we know that we're bringing something in, whether it's to our highest path or not, right? So just a little hint there, pay attention to that. It's going to speak volumes to you. So there's that piece. Um, so at the age of 12, there was two defining things that happened for me. I had this cat that was really sick, and there was some D-bag in the neighborhood that decided to give all of the cats antifreeze, and a lot of cats were passing away. My cat wasn't healthy. This was the only creature that I'd ever known, Mickey. He was a big, fat orange cat. I loved him. Um, and he got really sick and he went missing. And I was in the backyard, like knowing this was it, like he was going to go. And I just desired to see him one more time. I wanted to say goodbye to him. And I was open to, because he was epileptic. I can't even say that right now. Anyway, he already had health problems, then this antifreeze thing, which we knew he had it. And so I knew he was going to pass. And so there was this defining moment in my backyard where I was sitting there and my vibration, I just spoke to him in my energy. And I was like, you can pass in my arms. You don't have to hide from me for that journey. I'm strong enough for you. And I just remember sending that out into my vortex and sitting in the backyard. And he had been missing for quite some time. He had already had a few seizures. Like he was like, my mom was like, he's gone. Like, give it up. He's gone. And I was not having it. I was like, no, I'm going to hold you while you transition. And so I put it into my energy and I visualized him walking down the hill in the backyard. And I visualized him being strong enough to walk down the hill in the backyard or to call out to me. And I sat there and I just held that energy and I held that vision. And in my head, I was counting down to from 10 to 0. And at 0, I was just going to walk up the hill to embrace him. And I just owned it. And I did that. And by the time I got to 0, I opened my eyes and I stood up. And as soon as I stood up, there he was at the top of the hill, working his way down to me. And of course, like waterworks, right? So I go up the hill, scoop him up, take him into bed, and I just laid there with him while he passed away. And I was like, I created that. How did I do that? What kind of voodoo magic is this? Like, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not supposed to be doing this, right? So that was one defining moment that sat with me my whole life. And I was like, what? And this is before The Secret. This is before anyone was using the terminology manifesting or law of attraction. This is like, I don't know, I was 12 and I'm 45 now. So whatever year that is. Um, Great at math, right? So there was that. Shortly after that, within the same month, probably, I was standing. We had a big property with an acre hill, and at the top of the hill was our dog pen. We had two Great Danes, and it was my job to take the dogs up in the morning and at night to take their poops before bed or whatever and feed them. And it was a huge pen at the very top of the hill. So I'd have to walk up this steep hill with the two dogs, put them in their pen, let them do their business. And so I closed the gate. And as I closed the gate, all I heard was look up. And I just felt it. It was just look up. And it was nighttime. So I look up and we're on the edge of a very small town in Ontario, Canada. And I'm standing on the hill. I look up and the moon is perfect, like perfectly full. And all these stars are like literally like coming into me. And I'm like, and it was that moment where I was like, what is this? What is this human experience? Why do we do this? Like, this can't be what we're supposed to be doing. I was very abused, very neglected. I was, it was very violent and very intrusive. There was a lot of violence. Like, I was beaten quite a bit. I was sexually abused by one of my parents, not my father. I because I don't want to put that on him. He beat me though. And then there was a lot of malicious mental abuse as well. And then my little sister, I don't recall her having the physical abuse, but I know there was a lot of other abuse, but I'm not sure on the details, except for some really traumatizing shit. And I remember sitting there thinking like, this can't be what it is. Like, we're not here to be abused like this. And it was a hard pain point for me trying to protect her because I loved her so much. And she's such a amazing little starseed. And I knew that at a young age. But I just remember going, what is it? It's not this. It's not this. I strongly desire, and I was staring at the stars, 12 years old. I strongly desire to understand how to undo this pain for the world that I'm receiving. And it was like this, like through me. Like it felt like the moon like fell into my heart and just blew me open. So that was a really defining moment for me. Then I had a lot of shit happen. Tremendous amount of trauma immediately after that. Immediately after that. And so that is when I began to sort of shut down a little bit. There's a slow progression of shutting down. Then it blew back open, right? So those two defining moments I held on to. The knowing of my desire to undo the pain for humanity, for as many people as I could. I knew I wasn't the only abused child in the world. I knew of the foster care system because I had already been in it. Um, I knew very deeply understood that the projection that I was getting from my mother or my father or the other caregivers in my life, it wasn't a reflection of me. I knew it was their pain being projected, their anger, their resentment towards their life that they couldn't, that's the only lens they could look through. And that was the best that they could do. And I remember looking at my mom who had a lot of mental illness. I don't know now, we're not connected. So it's not a judgment thing. She was very mentally unwell and unstable. And there was a tremendous amount of projection. And I just remember looking in her eyes while she was screaming and manipulating and doing all this shit that she did to me. I just remember staring directly into her eyes and looking at all of the beautiful flecks in her eyes. She had the prettiest eyes and being like, there's so much pain in there. And so as she's hurting me and violating me, there was just this knowing of there's so much pain in there. This has nothing to do with me. Now, was I able to sustain that? No, I became a righteous asshole to her. Like, oh my God, I was such an asshole because I started becoming her pain and I started feeling towards her what she felt towards her childhood. I became her vibration and I started giving it back. Let me tell you, it wasn't very nice. Um, so we become the energy that's around us, number one. But there's this knowing, and we all have that knowing. We all have the consciousness universal flow within us. It's this thing that gets in the way, right? So as I started progressing and aging and maturing, I started understanding that this was controlling everything. And I started to pay attention to how easily I could create. I could create, it was like mind blowing to me. It was like the job opportunities, the right connections, being in the right place at the right time. Climbing the corporate ladder was so much ease. I didn't have to bust my ass at all. It was just like next step, next step, next step. It was just always there. And I remember being very aware of it. So I want you to pay attention to where is that easy clarity in your life? Because when we bring awareness to it, it's going to shift the game a lot because we're putting our focus on it. Universal flow understands focus. So what you're focused on is what you're going to get more of, not what you think you're focused on. So if you're like, I'm done with paying all these bills and I demand that money's going to come in, then your focus is on the fact that you don't have money. So instead, I started navigating my focus towards what am I actually creating right here? And it kept growing and growing and growing and growing. But then my anxiousness, I experienced anxiety on a level that, like, in under a minute, my imagination would go from, oh, what if this car drove off the bridge? All the way down to, I have two kids in the back. Which one am I saving? Whose funeral am I going to have to host? Because I can't get both of them out of the car. To planning that child's funeral, to asking myself if I would invite my ex-husband, who's still a Jehovah's Witness, to like this type of funeral. Would I do a celebration of life, to the point where I would get emotional in under a minute? So my anxiousness would just, the experience of anxiety through the roof. But yet the other side of the coin, the polarity, was this ease of creation. So then I started examining that And I was like, what is the difference? Like, what is creating this for me? That's when I started realizing that you're limiting your beliefs that are in your subconscious are either supporting you or hindering you. They're either holding you back, limiting you from your highest timeline, or they're propelling you towards your highest timeline, depending on what you believe. So when I would reflect back on my parents, I didn't believe that they wanted to hurt me at all. I knew it was their pain, but I believed that the human experience was painful. So I didn't blame my parents for their poor choices. I didn't blame them for, disharmony within their mental health or whatever that be, or addiction or alcoholism or any of those things, right? I didn't blame them. I realized that it was their pain. And so then my belief was the human experience is painful. So, and I mean, it can be, let's be fucking real. It's heavy being a human until you really grasp this. I know, right? So it was that realization, like, oh, I believe it's supposed to be painful, that made me reflect back to 12 when Mickey came down that hill. Even though that was a really painful experience for me, I knew I created that connection with him. And I was like, wait. And then the connection with the moon flooding me and the stars flooding me, and knowing I was connected to something so much bigger than, religion or whatever it be. And so I started curbing the anxiousness. So every time it came in, I would just pause it. And I'd be like, well, wait. We don't have to use our imagination for this. We can use our imagination towards the desired outcome. It's hard to catch anxiety in the beginning. It's not easy. But I did everything in my power to shift that every time I would catch it. Sometimes it would still go. Sometimes it still does. The other day it happened. My daughter she's using my vehicle, and we had this big snowstorm, and she was an hour late home than she usually is. And within 30 seconds, I was at the funeral, and I was like, oh my God, Dime, stop. Like, why do you do this? And so then I just, went back into nurturing that space and all of that stuff, but like it went all the way. So you're still going to have these moments. Nobody is perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. There's simply the experience of vibration, of thought, of imagination, and whatever you're imagining is what's going to come back to you. So kind of getting clear on that piece was my biggest game changer, that what I truly believed about myself, my impact in the world, the way the world functions, what humanity is. Are they mean? Are they painful? What are we? Those beliefs is what was creating my exterior reality. So then it started shifting really beautifully and really easily. But then I hit this when I was 30, I hit the heaviest timeline of my life. Hard timeline. I lost everything when I was 30. I was diagnosed with cancer, didn't tell anybody at all, not a single soul. I was like, I'm going to figure this out because I didn't want to be a victim to it. I didn't want to add to it. I lost my relationship. Thank God, though, it was the really toxic narcissist who's such a D-bag. But anyway, that's judgment. Yeah, I'm allowed to judge. Whatever. It was hard, that relationship. My son moved back in with his dad because of that relationship and the toxic energy that I was participating in with the narcissist. My daughter took her own spin on journey with discovering her mental health, and that was a really hard timeline. I lost my career, and then I lost everything. My house, my money, my vehicles, all of it. Like Job in the Bible, gone. Everything gone. And me sitting there in total disharmony in my body. My mom abandoned me for the last time back then. My sister abandoned me. My father abandoned me because of his faith, because he's still a Jehovah's Witness and I'm not. And I had no idea what was next. Everything was ripped away. And I went heavy and dark. And in that darkness, I had another psychic phenomenon happen where this portal sort of opened up, because I'm a starseed. I'm going to start talking a little bit more about that. Not every video, but I'm going to start to add some of that stuff in. Because we used to have a Galactic membership, Galactic ambassadors, but I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. So it might come back in the new year. I'm not sure. But anyway, I like talking about those things on a private platform, but I feel like there's so many star seeds kind of bursting open right now that it might be essential to bring that here. Let me know your thoughts on that. I don't want to know your thoughts on like, you're crazy, you're on drugs. Da, da, da. I'm not on drugs. I never do drugs. Anyways, so I'm sitting in the living room and I'm in this darkest space and my body's really rapidly gaining weight. There's some hormone therapy involved with the experience of the disharmony. I'm making a decision of, you know, surgery and chemo and all of those decisions, or am I going to do this myself? Because I do believe I could heal it, right? And I did. I didn't do, I did a little bit of hormone therapy the second time I had cancer, but not the first time. Um, I just owned it. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I'm going to give it 6 months and see what happens. And so I'm sitting in the living room in total despair, knowing that I'm moving out of this glorious house I was living in into this shitty little apartment, although it was a really nice apartment, but it was an apartment anyway. And I had this portal open, like I had like open, like the top floor was like open to the living room. This portal opens at the top of the stairs, and out come three galactic energies and this massive, like it looked like a food dog and a lion combined, like a panther, like a black panther with one bright blue, ice blue dot right here. And its eyes were ice blue. And I was like, and I was paralyzed on the couch. And I'm like, I have lost my mind, is what I thought. I thought I went crazy. And I had a really in-depth conversation with them. And that was the first time that I had experienced galactic energy in my space like that. And they gifted me that battle cat. Like it was like a cat dog thing. I don't know. But it stayed with me for quite some time to offer me energy. And it turns out it was like one of my warrior companions in a parallel life, in a galactic life. So he stayed with me for quite some time and would sleep between me and the narcissist while we were going through this separation and honored me. And so I have this like crazy thing happen, and I have two choices. I can either go into victimization of my experience right now and the fact that I think I'm crazy, which I wanted to. I wanted to be like, I've lost my mind, check me into a mental hospital. Like, I don't know what's happening, right? And, or go with it. And so I went with it. And I was like, all right. And I loved this animal, this creature, and I let it fuel me and increase my energy. And so the imagination piece, I remember strictly thinking, this is not going to get me where I want to go. Like, we have to be action oriented. We have to do, like, what do I do? What are my steps? Like, what's next? Oh my gosh. And I learned through that experience to use my imagination to create what was coming down the pipeline for me instead of being action oriented, instead of being, I have to. These are the stepping stones. This is the force. Every time I tried to force an outcome, it would turn out shitty. It wouldn't work. And I kept reflecting back to Mickey. I kept reflecting back to that moon. I kept reflecting back to all of the things that I had aligned with. And that eventually led me down the path of realizing, one, let's dive and heal all the limiting beliefs. So I went on a long journey and became a master at healing inner child, a master at healing the what was, the three, because that energy is just flowing in, and then that is repeating and flowing and bringing more of. So I understood it, I mastered it, and then I mastered teaching it. That was phase one of where I am now. In my desire, I was so focused on the house, like the house and the life and the stage and the books and the outcome, the big, big, big vision. I wasn't focused on presence. And so because I was forcing that to come through, I was everything that I could. I remember meeting people and thinking, this is my golden ticket, and trying so hard to build a relationship with them so that I could be my golden ticket to. Don't do that. That's not how it works. You create your reality. You don't have to ride someone else's energy or coattail or success or experience, right? But I thought I was just going to have this golden ticket moment. Even when I met Colette Baron Reed, Oh my gosh. And Biff Naked, actually. I spent time with both of those women. And I remember thinking, if they could just see me, like, this is it for me. Yes. And no, 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 no. And I'm so glad it happened the way it did. I created it. So it was a gradual unfolding, not being so focused on forcing this big vision that is now my reality. And that was, I'm 45 in a couple of weeks. I'm 45 on the 21st, on the winter solstice this month. I was 30. It took me 15 years to arrive here. But not one moment of that has been unsatisfying or unfulfilling. It has been an exciting, incredible journey. And if someone would have told me when I was 30 that I was going to take till I was 45, I would have thrown a fit. I would have been like, absolutely not taking that long. This is what I want. It has to be now because I was so impatient. But I learned the hard way because it took me a long time. And this is why it took 15 years, because I kept trying to force it. I kept looking for that golden ticket. I kept looking for someone doing it for me or with me or seeing me or recognizing me or a publisher picking me up or whatever, right? And once I dropped all of that and realized I don't want to be a part of this world anyways, not the 3D or the 4D world, absolutely not playing there. I desire, going back to that original thing, I desire to help humanity heal the pain that's causing these horrible cycles. I don't want people to feel what I felt. And I don't want people to feel like I felt my mother's pain when she was projecting onto me. I felt it. I was sad for her. I felt my father's pain when he was kicking me in the ass, like literally kicking me in the ass. I felt their pain along with mine. That was not cool. I would have rather just felt mine, but that was my journey. And I don't want that for the world. I don't desire that at all. So it was slowing down and allowing one step at a time, just one. That's all that's required. I don't need to like long jump it. I don't need to, what's that when you take the pole and you run and you like whoop over the thing? I don't know what it's called right in this moment, but you don't need to do that. You don't need to run. It's not a race. It is not a race. And I promise you, and it doesn't make sense until you get it and you try it and you experience it. But the moment you slow the fuck down, and I don't really like the word surrender, I prefer the word allow. When you allow the joy in this moment to move through you, which isn't always easy, there's going to be these challenges we experience. But every challenge I have now, honestly, I promise you, like, this is what I do. Every single challenge or discomfort or disharmony within my body that I have now, I immediately go, what am I mastering? Because if I master it, I will never experience it again. If I master it, I will level up in my experience, and that feels good. And so it's not my desire to force or race or chase or anything. It's simply a curiosity that I have now with my life. I'm experiencing this. Oh, I wonder how big that'll get. Like if I focus on it, it'll just grow. If I focus on the lack of it or the trying or the striving, it won't. It will shrivel up. So can you just be? Can you just chill the fuck out? Can you just take one step at a time? Can you look for reasons to say thank you, I love you? That's my favorite experience. That's a whole story in itself, how that came to me. And I think I've shared that probably in one of the past videos. But it's just this discovery of self, this discovery of what can your imagination do for you, not against you. And play with that. Go into your imagination, play with all of the good what ifs. That's what I was doing in the beginning. That's what I thought was fucking it up because I still thought I had to create. There was that. And then the other thing that I did that totally fucked me up. There was a whole phase in my life in my late 20s. Like things are pretty good. I was doing pretty good. And well, I mean, it's perception from an outside perspective doing really good. I was still really empty on the inside. But I was really understanding things and moving along my journey. But I remember sitting there and visualizing every day the same fucking visualization, the same house, the same this, the same, like going into like manifesting. The biggest fuck up I ever did was trying to manifest. Sitting there visualizing, doing all the things, taking all the courses, reading all the books, the 5 steps to manifestation. None of it works like that. It does. I mean, you might get little pieces of it, but you're not going to get the full reality. And you're not going to sustain that reality until you understand a lot of moving pieces, but basically heal your limiting beliefs because that's creating a vibration. Everything is vibration. There is a universal law of vibration. The universal law of attraction is only responding to the vibration. So manifesting happens when your vibrational law of attraction do this and they meet and they create. And so your beliefs that are holding you back are still creating. When you heal those, you shift, you move into newness. That's what birthed my company to the level where it is now, was that realization. And so we developed a program called Divine Alignment, helping you divinely align with your highest path. Sarah Rose does that now for me. I don't have the bandwidth for it. And she's amazing. Oh my God. I get so many love letters about her. She's so cool. You really need to check this woman out. She has a whole podcast on here called Shadow Work is a Bitch. Like, it's just so authentic. I love her. But that's what birthed the company, was just that realization. And then I developed it into a program, a strategic program. And then I now teach that to mentors, and that leveled up the company to another level. And that gave me the space to continue exploring my own expansion, where I then started studying like the Power 369. That was the biggest, understanding universal law, huge game changer for me. Knowing what to do with universal law, even bigger game changer for me. The Power 369. I don't care that the universe is made up of all these sacred nines. It doesn't matter to me. How does that change my life? What do I do with it? And when I started studying what to do with it, and I came to some really solid conclusions, everything changed fully. And I arrived in my highest timeline. And now in my highest timeline, I understand how to completely alter your exterior world. I fully creating my desired reality and teaching that. It's amazing. Like, I never thought that this little girl who was being sexually abused by a caregiver, who was being beaten by another caregiver, who was told she was stupid, ugly, would never make it, literally like a slave. I was like a slave to their pain and a slave to, they wanted me to do all the chores and responsibilities. Like, it was not a comfortable experience. That little girl who came from nothing gets to travel and do retreats all over the world. Like, I'm on airplanes as much as I am in the retreat center. I get to touch thousands and thousands of lives. I get to share my journey and the wisdom that I've gained, that I've worked so hard for. Man, I've invested time and money and resources into the wisdom that I have now. And I get to just share that with the world. I get to share how I went from completely suffering in disharmony into completely thriving in my highest timeline. I get to teach people that. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that that would be an option for me. But once I started healing the things that were holding me back, it unfolded. And so everything I've endured, and this is for you, everything you have endured, everything that you have experienced, everything that you understand, and everything that you master in your own wisdom, you can bring that to the world, because there's a lot of other yous, a lot of other me's out there waiting for how, what do I do? How? So you have an incredible purpose on this planet, and you can do it in whatever fashion, however big, however small, whatever skill you want to. Even if it's just healing your pet, you've created a change on this planet. And that's your highest timeline. Your highest timeline is understanding what you're here to master, what you're here to share, and what you're here to offer. For me, it's all about being of service. I made that decision of when I remember looking in my mother's eyes and being like, I don't want anyone to experience her pain or mine. I don't want that for anyone. That's when I chose to be of service for the world. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And you don't need to know, because one step at a time will always unfold. You have an inner compass, your soul. I don't even believe in souls anymore. That's in the expansion retreat. It's so different. It's so different than what I thought it was. But anyway, your essence, we'll call it for right now, is directing you. That highest vibration of everything that is in you. And it's magnetically pulling you towards your highest timeline. It is inevitable. You will arrive if you get out of your own way. So it's just loving this piece of you, loving this as the human experience. Your ego is your human experience. Your ego is your ability to perceive your so called reality and to create your so called reality. Your ego is responsible for desire. Your ego is responsible for my desire to be of service. That's my ego. My ego is responsible for the things that bring me pleasure and joy and my sense of humor. My ego is responsible for the way I love to give and receive love. That's all ego. You are always the consciousness. You are always the isness. You are always the soul. I hate that word, but anyway, you're always that. You always have been. You always will be. This is the one time that you get this personality and meat suit. And it's something to be honored and respected and not shunned. There's so many teachers out there saying, shun the ego death. It's not a thing. It's ego healing. Heal it. It's the one that has the perception of what was. It is your inner child. It is your future self. It is the human experience. Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop there. So there's that. So today is the 8th that I recorded this. I'll be posting it obviously on the 8th. And then I will be back to regular schedule the first week of January. So I will see you all then. Hit me up with any questions. I will review all of the comments on this video and try to address all of the questions. And if Starseed something, if moving into Starseed awareness is something that you're interested in, let me know. I'm contemplating bringing back the Galactic Ambassador membership. It won't be in the same fashion that it was last time. So last time it was a channeled Galactic live message because I can channel every Tuesday. I don't have the bandwidth or energy for that. It takes a lot out of me, but it'll probably be like a once a month live event that you can purchase as we go or whatever. But we are having so for the Starseeds out there, we're having massive Anunnaki activation right now. And the recording for January monthly forecast, Sarah Rose and I did that yesterday. Starseeds, hold the F on. Oh my God, it's crazy. So as we move through January, I did the galactic piece. Sarah Rose did the energy healing piece of what's available for us in that monthly forecast. It'll be available very soon, before Christmas. And those of us that are in 6, 7, 8 dimensional consciousness or can tap in and experience that, you're going to be witness to all of it, all of it. Those of us that are in 5th dimensional consciousness, we're really going to know. 4th dimensional consciousness, you're going to feel, but not have clarity. 3rd dimensional consciousness, you're going to feel panic and depression and anxiousness. So we don't want that. But those of you that have sort of like moved through the birth canal of 5th dimensional consciousness, you will be witness to them. And real quick before, because I thought we were done, but obviously I'm not. Bob in the backyard, you guys have been witness to that journey. So I'll just share this really quick. In some of the other videos, I shared that when I came to the retreat property, there was an entity that I was really uncomfortable with in the backyard. And now I'm laughing at it because it's hilarious. So it's been a gradual process of us learning each other and intentions. And at first, there was no intention provided from Bob. That's what I'm just named him for whatever reason. And I think his name actually is Bob, but anyways. So we've been learning each other. And then we had a conversation about 3 weeks ago where the energy exchange was like, I want to be you. And I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, oh, I'll share it with you soon. You'll understand soon. Don't worry. And so I can be witness to him through my third eye. I can be witness to his energy, his vibration, his feeling, telepathic communication. Really, really cool. And then yesterday, I was outside. I like to pace. I have a huge back deck on the retreat center that I'll pace when I'm like processing something. And so I had a big piece about regenerating DNA structure moving through me. So I was outside pacing, letting it move through. And Bob's like, and I look over and I'm like, oh, hey. And it's freezing cold out. And he's like, we had like a little mini conversation about something. And then he said, I have 2 things to share with you. Do you want to see me? And I was like, like with my eyeballs? And he's like, yes, with your eyeballs. And I was like, because I only ever see with my third eye, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay. So he morphed right in front of me, like in the physical, to the point where like I know I could have touched him if I was close enough. We were like the yard away. And because I still won't let him in the backyard. I'm just got some boundaries. That's all. Because he's a pretty strong energy. And so he morphed into the physical right in front of me. And I was like, whoa, that's super cool. Number one. Two, the most terrifying thing I've ever seen, to the point it was so terrifying. It was beautiful. Like it was such a weird energy of like just in awe of his beauty. But if I were to see him in the dark, I would literally shit my pants. Um, like full on shit. So we ended up having this conversation about perception and beauty and all this stuff. And then he smiles and he's like, I need to tell you something. And those of you that have been following me for a while, you're going to be like, what? He's like, I'm Max's son. I was like, what? Which means he's my brother. And I'm a combination of Max and what I'll call in this moment the golden ones. We'll get into that another day. So I'm a hybrid and he's just Max's son, which also led to a massive discovery about DNA, interchanging DNA and restructuring it in the genome. Um, because my goal is to actually turn my eyes blue. I want to discover how to do that because I know it can be done. And so that's what I'm working on right now. Because if I can do that, then we can do anything, right? So who knows if my brain will be able to conceptualize that or not? We'll find out. That's a later thing. But anyways, it was an incredible, amazing moment with Bob. And now I'm like, it's so funny because my partner was like, well, are you going to let him in the house now? Like, you guys are family. I was like, no. He's like, why? And I'm like, our vibrations are so different. I love his vibration when I'm experiencing it, but I don't desire to experience it all day, and vice versa for him. Right. So, anyways, there's that. So, Bob's thriving and doing very well. Um, Unbelievably stunning and so freaking cool. And he has crystal blue eyes. Like, his eyes are literally like the color of my pen, like just these little stunning. And I was like, wait, that's the color that I want to do my eyes. And he's like, I know, dumbass. And then so he's like, when I said I wanted to become you, what I meant was we're interchanging wisdom right now. We're exchanging wisdom. I'm integrating your wisdom, you're integrating my wisdom. And he wants to discover how to shapeshift into being human. Not shapeshift, wrong term. Alter his experience, his frequency to feel the human experience. And I'm desiring to do the opposite. So, okay, that was all the crazy for you. There it is. So there's that. All right, for real, I'm done now. Wishing you guys the most like fulfilling family experience, energy experience over the holiday season, over the transition into 2024 or the human's perspective of 2024. And just remember, you are so loved and you've got this. And so don't look for the things you don't want to see over the holiday season. Look for the things you can celebrate and honor yourself and fill your bucket. And remember that you are loved, you are needed, and I will catch you on the flip side. I'll see you next year. Such a tacky thing to do. See you next year. All right, guys. Happy everything. Love you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.